All right, this is the functions video based on the paper which was written in KZN in 2025. So the first question says, given function of x is equals to negative x plus 4, we are given a parabola. What do they want? 4.1.1, sketch the graph. Keyword sketch. The graph of f clearly indicate all the intercepts, your x and y intercepts with the axis on the graph. So on this graph, we must indicate the x-intercepts and we must sketch on this graph. So now, let's remember one thing. This equation is y is equals to ax squared plus q. Now, let's remind each other. If your a is more than 0, you get a concave. If your a is less than 0, you get a convex. So if we come here to a, our a is -1, which is less than 0. It means our graph is going to be a convex, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, if we come to the q is the what? Is the y-intercept. And where do you find the y-intercept? You find it on the y-axis. So if we come to this graph, our y-intercept is equals to what? Is equals to 4, right? And what does this A about the convex tell us? It also tells us about the what? It tells us about the maximum value. Meaning to say at this point, there is a maximum value. And since our Q is equals to 4, so I will come here and say that, all right, this is where the 4 is. Here. So I'm going to plot here. Let me not write at the moment, but my graph is going to pass through here. That's the point which I'm going to call 4, the y-intercept. Now, as for the x-intercepts, what do? I need to calculate. Now, when I'm looking for the x-intercepts, what do I do? I make y equal to 0. So we've got the equation y is equals to negative x squared plus 4. And we are looking for the x-intercepts. So we let y equal to 0. So this y is now equal to 0, negative x squared plus 4. I transpose this. Now I get x squared is equals to positive 4. Now, since I've got positive 4, what do? Remember, x squared implies that for me to remove it, I must use a square root. But now I say I've got a plus or a minus. So therefore, my x is equals to -2, or my x is equals to what? My x is equals to positive 2. Meaning to say that now here I'm going to say that at this juncture, this is my x, which is equals to -2. And at this other point, my x is equals to positive 2, right? Then from there, I can now plot, or I can now sketch, right? So remember, a parabola should be having a curve. So now I do that. I don't like how I drew that. So let me start from the bottom. Okay, all right. And then I mustn't forget to, then I show that it's continual. It's continuous. Now, what do? Now I come here and I clearly label that at my x-intercept, my y is 0, and here I had -2, and there here, my other x-intercept, my x was 0 and my y was 0. And then I must indicate that this is y, and my x here is 0. So my x is 0 and the y is 4. And I was told that this is the graph of what? Function of x. So I must name it. So I come here and I name it function of x, right? I've given them everything that they wanted. They wanted me to sketch, I have sketched. They wanted me to clearly indicate the intercept, I've indicated the x-intercept and the y-intercept on the graph. I'm done. Then you get this question at 3 marks. All right, now let's move on. Now they say, write down the range of f. What is range? The range, we're talking about your y values. So remember, we said when your A is less than 0, you have got what? You have got the maximum value. But observe, from this maximum, what's happening to your values? They are going down. So the maximum, the biggest y value that you have is 4. So now when I'm answering that question, I now say range, I now say y are elements of what? Using my interval notation, included 4 till I reach negative what? Infinity, which is not included. This square bracket means that the 4 is included as part of the solutions. This curly bracket means that negative infinity is not included. This is the range. So you could have answered it like this, or you could have used an alternative method, right, where you now say that your answers the value from negative infinity. Remember, negative infinity is what? Oh yes, here I made a mistake. I swapped the places. I was supposed to say that y are elements from negative infinity to positive 4. And my 4 is having a square bracket, because remember, negative infinity is what? Is smaller than positive 4. So here I say negative infinity is less than, and I use this sign to show that negative infinity is not included. Is smaller than what? It is smaller than y, but y is smaller than or equal to 4. Now I've put something here underneath this sign to show that this 4 is included. So you could have used either of these two methods to what? To answer this question of range. When they're talking about range, when they're asking about range, or they're talking about the y values. If it was domain, they would have been talking about what? The x values. Okay, now they say determine the value of x for which function of x is more than 0, right? So what they are simply asking you is this: using this graph that we have, the one which we have drawn here, right, the parabola, we must now tell the examiner which x values here, right, had y which is more than 0. Now, if you can observe here, from the x-axis here, on -2, these parts here, they are more than 0. And also this part, it's more than 0. But when you get to this x-intercept, now this part here, it's less than 0, and this part is less than 0. So if I want to talk about x values, now I simply say that my x values are elements of, now I started -2, but -2 is 0, and 0 is not included. So I say that I started what? -2. -2 is not included till I reach +2, and +2, the x-intercept is also not included. They say they want what was more than 0, and 0 is not more than 0. So this is your answer. Or you could have answered it this way, that -2 is less than x, but x is also less than 2. This sign is saying that -2 is not part of the solution, +2 is not part of the solution, right? Okay, I hope it makes sense. Then now we're being told this question, 4.1.4. Describe the transformation from f to h. So from f to h in words, if h of x is equals to negative, open bracket, x minus 1, close bracket, x plus 1, close bracket. Now, what are they saying? Let's indicate two key things here. They want us to describe the transformation. The transformation which we're going to use, we're going to be using translation. What does transformation mean? Transformation simply means the change. What change? They're saying that, remember, from f, this graph of f, we are being given another graph which is h, right? So there is another graph which is called h, but we don't have it here. Where do we have it? We have it here. We are given this equation, h of x is equals to negative, open bracket, and the rest of it. right? So now we must talk about the change to say that what are the changes will you see between this graph of f of x and the graph of h of x, which they've given you as an equation. And your answer should be in what? In words. Remember, if you watched my functions video, I said that transformation, it has got what? 4 different ways of being presented. Number 1, you've got words. Number 2, you've got the graph which you see here. Number 3, you've got your table method when you say that x and y values, and you write the equation here at the top. Number 4, you've got what? Coordinates. When we say, let's say 2 and 4 at point what? At point A. So these are the 4 ways. Now, what are we going to do? What we are going to do now, we are going to calculate. So when we are going to calculate, this is what I will do. I'm going to utilize this space. I'm given h of x, which is equal to negative open bracket x minus 1 and x plus 1. So what am I going to do? I'm going to expand here. So now I say h of x is equal to negative open bracket x times x, that's x squared, x times this, that's positive x, negative times positive, that's a negative 1 by x, that's a negative x, and negative times positive, that's a negative 1 by 1 is equals to 1. I close the bracket. Now these two are like terms, but I've got a positive x and a negative x, which means that these two, they cancel out. So now I've got h of x, which is equals to negative x squared minus 1. Now what do? I must multiply in. So my h of x, negative times positive, that's a negative x squared, negative times negative, that's a positive 1. Now observe, I've got my equation of h of x is negative x squared plus 1. And let me bring my f of x closer. My f of x, which I was given here, is negative x squared plus 4. Now, if you look at the difference, the original equation that we're given, our y-intercept was 4. Now, the y-intercept which we have for the h of x is 1. So what happened? Observe, our y-intercept is here, it's 4. But the y-intercept of this graph, h of x, is found where? It's now being found where? Somewhere here. So from 4 to this positive 1, obviously the graph of what? F of x, it went down. By how many units? Now you say 4 minus 1, which is equals to 3. 3 units. But remember, we were told that our answer should be in what? It should be in words. So what do we do when we're answering? Now we tell the examiner the graph of h of x translated 3 units downwards. 3 units downwards. And just like that, we are done. We have answered them in the manner which they wanted. They said in words. So we have answered them. These calculations, you can do them on the side, and then what they wanted was this answer. Right? But also you must take note to say that how many marks are provided for that question. If it's maybe 3 marks and above, then you may show the calculations. But if it's a mark or 2, then you can just write the answer. All right. Now, if we go to 4.2, this is the last question. All right. So this last question, it has got nothing to do with this graph, so I'm going to erase so that I can have space to calculate on. Now, what does it say? We have got the description which says, determine the equation of the function k of x is equals to a over x, right? So our k of x is equal to a over x plus q. Now, when you see this equation, you know immediately that this is a hyperbola. With the horizontal asymptote y is equals to 3. When I'm told about the asymptote, in grade 10, we only have got asymptote, one asymptote, which is what? The letter Q. Your letter Q is your asymptote. So in other words, we're having K of X, which is equals to A over X plus 3 here. This is the horizontal asymptote. Now, what do they say? The next sentence says, the straight line function of X is equals to X plus 2. Okay. So we're being told that where this hyperbola is, there is also a straight line on the same set of axes. So the straight line function of X is equals to function of X is equals to X plus 2 intersects, meaning to say that the hyperbola, right, it joins at a point. There is a point where these two different graphs meet. All right, with the graph of K at the point 2, 4. So where they meet, we're being told that, oh, okay, the X is 2 and the Y is 4. Meaning to say that if this is the hyperbola which we have, probably this graph, it is X plus 2. So maybe this graph is like this. How do I know that it's increasing? Because my gradient is 1, right? So it doesn't touch this one, it only touches at this point. Okay, so now remember, what is the real question to this scenario? They said we must determine the equation. This is the part. Which equation? We already have got the equation of a straight line, so we can't determine the equation of what we have been provided, but we have not been provided with the equation of the hyperbola. We must determine the equation of the hyperbola using this information. So that's easy peasy. Why? Why did they give us about the point where they intersect? So that we come and we substitute into this equation. So where there was K of X, we are no longer going to write K of X, we are now going to write what? We're going to write that as things stand, we've got Y is equals to A over X plus 3. But now our Y is 4, so we now substitute this Y and we say 4 is equals to A over. Where Y is 4, the X is 2, so we substitute, we've got 2 plus 3. Now, in other words, we must find Y. So what am I going to do first? I'm going to transpose the 3. Then it becomes 4 minus 3 is equal to A over 2. Now we must get rid of what? Get rid of this denominator. But let's start by saying 4 minus 3 is equals to 1. So we've got 1, which is equals to A over 2. We multiply by 2 this side, we multiply by 2 that side. These two, they cancel out. Then I conclude that, therefore, my A is equal to what? 2, right? So I found the A here. And what do I need when I'm determining the equation of a parabola? I need A and Q. And Q, I was already told that it was the horizontal asymptote. So since I have done that, then I can come and conclude that, therefore, my K of X, the name of the graph, is equal to what? The K of X is equals to 2 over X plus 3. And just like that, I have determined the equation, right? Fine. Very, very easy. If you found this video to be very helpful, please do consider subscribing. If you've got any questions, comment. Please share the video with your loved ones. Till we meet next time, thank you.